After 2 decades of being a funky, weird-looking hybrid, Toyota's Prius is all new for 2023, and surprise, it's actually good-looking. What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. This is the completely redesigned and, dare I say, darn good-looking Prius. But not only is it easier on the eyes, it packs more power, the same great efficiency, and a host of other upgrades as well. But is all that going to be enough to fend off a compelling slate of hybrid competitors and a growing list of affordable electric models? Let's go spend some time with it and find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this page so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, let's start by taking a look at the exterior of this new Prius, and it's definitely the highlight of this entire car. Completely redesigned, looks nothing like it did before. In fact, this actually looks like Toyota skipped ahead a few generations to this design. So up front, you have these really nice LED lights that wrap around the grille here. The wheelbase on this generation has been stretched a few inches. Overall, it's also lower and a little bit longer. The wheels now are tucked more into the corners, which gives you better handling. So the model you see here is the top-end limited trim. That means it has 19-inch alloy wheels. The mid-grade XLE trim also gets those wheels. The base, that's the LE, those get 17-inch alloy wheels. Moving along the side, Toyota did a really nice job of keeping it very clean back here. They moved the door handle up here. It's tucked away, out of sight. Gives it a very modern, sort of edgy look. There's a little bit of a shoulder there over the rear wheel. And then at the back is perhaps the most compelling part of this new design. You've got the horizontal light bar. The overall look is really cool, very futuristic without being too weird or edgy. I really like that balance here. Another thing to note is that split rear window that the previous generations of Prius had, that is now gone. It's a single piece of glass. And because this is the limited trim, this is the only version of the new Prius that has a power liftgate feature. All right, let's talk powertrain. Not only is this a better looking Prius, but it is more powerful than before. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that's up from a 1.8 liter that was in the previous generation. Horsepower is now a combined 194 total horsepower on front-wheel drive models like this. All-wheel drive models will have 196 horsepower. Now that is up from 121 total horsepower, so that is a huge gain over the previous generation. The best part is, not only is it more powerful, but it's just as efficient as before. Thanks to a lighter curb weight and a host of other powertrain improvements, this new generation of Prius across all powertrains and trims gets the same or better combined fuel economy. So for example, the limited version that we have here gets combined fuel economy of 52 miles per gallon. The all-wheel drive version drops down a little bit to 49 miles per gallon combined. But more power with the same great efficiency, that's a recipe for success. All right, now let's take a look at the interior of this new Prius. Now, probably the first thing you notice, especially if you've been in a previous generation Prius, which used to just have one screen here, now they've gone back to a more of a traditional setup, so you do have the 2-screen setup, and I like that. The only caveat is that this digital screen, for one, it's hard to see around the steering wheel, right? I've got to sort of move up and down. The steering wheel is adjustable, but there's really no great position where the steering wheel is not in the way. So that's a little frustrating. The second thing is this is a small screen and Toyota is cramming a lot of information in there. So it can get kind of hard to find what you're looking for as you're looking at this little screen. What I do like is this screen here. Now we're in a loaded limited version. So that means it comes standard with this 12.3-inch color touchscreen. The base model, that's the LE, and the mid-grade XLE will come standard with a smaller 8-inch screen here. And the XLE, you can opt for this larger screen. And I would recommend doing that if you can. This is a really nice setup. It's a large screen. It's very responsive to your touch. Has a really good, clear infotainment system and navigation system you see. One caveat, however, is that this navigation system requires a subscription. It's $160 a year, so that's a little frustrating, right? You'd think that maybe this would be standard. It also has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. You can see I've got that set up here. And don't think you need to step up to this larger screen to get that connectivity. The smaller 8-inch screen also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And because this is the loaded limited trim, you also get some nice goodies. You've got heated and cooled seats up front. I've got wireless smartphone charging down here that actually has a nice little holder. Keeps your phone in place. That's kind of handy. You have a JBL sound system and this glass roof. It's not a sunroof in the sense that it opens, but it does have 2 panes and a sunshade. That's pretty cool. Another thing I really like about the cabin in this new Prius is that Toyota didn't go down the road of having a touchscreen or touch-sensitive panel for the climate control. These are all physical buttons. They're laid out very nicely. It's very easy to find what you're looking for, so that's a nice setup. And then throughout the cabin, you've got some good utilities, some good cubbies and functionality. You've got cup holders here. You've got a storage space in here with some USB-C connectivity. And finally, you've got another storage area down here. It looks like that's where you would do wireless smartphone charging, but as you know, that's here. Instead, this is just a storage compartment that also has a hidden compartment underneath. Nice little feature. So when it comes to interior space, despite the outside of the car actually growing a little bit over the previous generation Prius, inside it's a little tighter on this model. So I'm 6'1", I've got the front seat adjusted to where I would have it, so basically I'm sitting behind myself. And as you can see, I've got plenty of room, right? My toes really aren't touching, I've got good space for my knees. If I sit upright, the headroom is actually a little tight, and that's one area where this Prius is actually smaller than the outgoing generation. But that doesn't mean it's uncomfortable back here by any stretch. It actually is a place tall adults could spend a little bit of time on a longer road trip, so do keep that in mind. Otherwise, you have a few other amenities built in. You've got a pair of USB-C charging ports down below. I've got a nice armrest that folds down with a few cup holders for a little bit of comfort, and some matte lights above me. The Prius is also down on cargo space as well. The cargo area you see here is about 7 cubic feet smaller than the previous generation of Prius. But one nice feature is that the seats are split 60-40 and fold completely flat in case you do have a lot of cargo needs. Two other nice little features that I do want to point out. You have this cargo cover here so that when the trunk is closed, you can't see what's in the trunk area. So that way it prevents break-ins. That's a nice little feature. And then below this cargo floor is a series of cubbies. I don't know why this isn't just one larger space or they didn't make the floor lower, but there is a little additional out-of-sight storage space down below. All right, so you're probably sitting there doing the math thinking this is a lighter Prius, it is a more powerful Prius, so therefore it's got to be more fun to drive, right? And that's correct, it is. But it's still just a Prius, right? It's a compact, efficient car. It's not going to overwhelm you with the power, but the power it does have, especially that extra boost over the previous generation, is certainly appreciated. You've got plenty in passing situations. The engine doesn't feel like it's droning anymore or working too hard when you really need it. What that does is it creates a really nice daily driver that just happens to be a hybrid. Rather than a hybrid first, you're making other sacrifices. So I really like that balance. It's a great update over the outgoing Prius. But what do you guys think? Is nearly 200 horsepower enough to make people who have never owned a hybrid finally make the switch into something electrified like this? Let us know in the comments below. Beyond just the power, the rest of the driving experience is really pretty comfortable in this car. The last generation of Prius was on an all-new platform, so this is just an extension of that. And that was a great upgrade. This is a quiet car, not a lot of wind noise and road noises coming into the cabin, which is saying something for a car that really pays attention to being lightweight to be the most efficient as possible. The rest of the driving experience is pretty much what you would expect. The brakes do have a little bit of mushiness that some hybrids can have, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. The steering is pretty good, pretty firm and communicative, and the overall ride quality is certainly comfortable. And then again, that dates back to the previous generation's platform change that really gives this a nice solid feel. And as an added bonus, if you really do want to wring this car out, there are different drive modes you can put it in. There's a custom mode, there's the sport mode, a default normal mode, and finally an eco mode. So that's a nice trick to have up your sleeve that allows you to fine-tune the performance of this Prius. Finally, all new Priuses have a new safety feature called Proactive Drive Assist. And basically what this does is it uses the car's camera and radar to look around you, and in certain situations, whether you're headed into a curve maybe, or to keep a certain distance between you and the car in front of you, it will proactively use the brakes to slow the car down a little bit. So we've been using it for a little bit on our drive, and it's actually not that bad. It's not very intrusive. If you've ever driven an electric car, it feels kind of like regenerative braking almost. If you take your foot off the throttle, the car then slows down a little bit more than normal. So we do like that. It's kind of a nice feature to have. If all of this just sounds a little sketchy and maybe you want to turn it off, well, you can do that. You just go into the menus in the car's instrument panel, find the button and turn it off that way. In addition to the Proactive Drive Assist, all Prius models come standard with Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0. So this includes pre-collision braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure alerts with steering assist, radar-based cruise control that works at any speed, lane tracing assist, road sign assist, and automatic high beams. All right, folks, there you have it, our first drive of the all-new 2023 Toyota Prius. Pros, well, it's got the great styling that we've been talking about this entire video. Very good looking car. It's been getting a lot of comments as people drive by. It's also very efficient and more powerful. That's a great combination there. And finally, you have the availability of all-wheel drive. That's a great asset to people living in areas like the Northwest or Northeast US. Cons, well, it got more expensive, $2,500 more for the base model and goes all the way up to almost 40 grand. That's a lot of money for a compact hybrid. And we didn't like the instrument cluster. Too much information in too small a screen, and it's hard to see if you're tall. Finally, it is smaller inside, both for passengers and especially for cargo. But overall, we really like this new generation of Prius. We think it's great that Toyota finally put style ahead of everything else, but yet still give you so much power, efficiency, and great functionality inside. So we're a big fan. We definitely recommend this car. But what do you guys think? Do you like the styling? Is it too expensive for what it is? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. So for reviews or listings of this Prius or anything else you're shopping for, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And before you go, like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. We'll see you out there.